Alright, what's up everyone? This is Ninja Deathstrike bringing you another Pokemon TCGO battle using my Tyranitar deck again. As I mentioned before, this is going to be a much more competitive match than the two that I showed in my last video. My opponent this time is Turtle Star, and it looks like she actually has the advantage on me. So, going to check out her stats here at the beginning. 196 wins, 4,000 cards. She has all the cards, so she can pretty much be running any deck she wants. She's going to flip over a Ghastly, and that tells me right away that this is going to be a Lost World deck. So I know that in order to beat a Lost World deck, the main key is to keep Pokemon out of your hand as often as possible, since those are going to rely on Gengar to use Hurl into Darkness and chuck my cards into the Lost Zone. And if you don't remember, if you didn't watch the trainer tutorial, the way that this deck wins is by getting 6 Pokemon into the Lost Zone. Once it does that, they can play Lost World and just immediately win the game. So I need to constantly keep track of how many Pokemon I'm going to end up with in the Lost Zone. And unfortunately, I go second, which is a huge disadvantage anytime, but even more so with Lostgar, because it means that I don't get to evolve before she has a chance to use Hurl into Darkness. So looks like I might be up against it a little bit here. She's going to lead with a Mime Jr., go for the whatever its attack is that puts one card off the top of your deck into the Lost Zone. Luckily for me, that card is not a Pokemon, so I'm looking okay. I'm going to use a Sage's Training here, try to get something going. I decided to grab Sneasel, and I get that Psychic Energy because I might need it for Darkrai Cresselia Legend later. I only run 2 in my deck, so I kind of need it in my hand. Now I'm going to Pecom, get rid of some of these extra Pokemon in my hand. I will be able to play Mandibuzz on my next turn, so I think I'll keep that. Oh, no, I guess not. I guess I'm going to go for Pupitar here. Try to get this Tyranitar up before she has a chance to hurl into Darkness. So that will get 1 extra Pokemon out of my hand, let me put it on the bench, and now I have 2 in my hand, and since she doesn't have any energy on Ghastly, the most she'll be able to Lost Zone next turn is 1, so I should be okay. Also, I have an energy, so if I choose to put that on Sneasel, I'll be able to use the Fury Swipes, just maybe get some damage in. I go ahead and play that Super Scoop Up, basically to get Volibee out of the active spot, since I don't have an energy to retreat it and to attack with Sneasel. So now I'm going to go ahead and attack, get 2 heads, so just short of the Oko, but that would have been pretty unlikely. So now Lost Zone comes into play. I don't have any Stadium cards, so there's no way to get rid of it. It's here to stay. And I see that she evolves into Haunter this turn. That means she doesn't have a Gengar. So I'm safe with these Pokemon in my hand for 1 more turn. And if she doesn't get any energy, I actually might be even more safe. So she's going to Sleepy Lost again and going to put a Collector into the Lost Zone. I don't mind that, since I don't want Pokemon on my field anyhow. It's not going to hurt me too much. And unfortunately, I draw another half of a Legend. I actually don't know if those count as Pokemon if they end up in the Lost Zone. I would imagine they would. So I've got 2 Pokemon in my hand that I can't get rid of this time. She's going to go ahead and put an energy onto Gengar, but luckily her Mime stays asleep and she doesn't have a way to get him out of the active spot, so I do get my Tyranitar up. That is going to be a huge advantage. T-Tar really does have a massive advantage against this deck just because it can hit for weakness and basically Oko anything she has. So if I can get T-Tar powered up, I should be able to take 6 prizes in 6 turns, and it's just a matter of doing that before she's able to take control of my deck. And you can see now that's what she's going to start doing. She gets Slowpoke, which will become a Slowking next turn, and then a Mr. Mime, so she's going to be able to look at my hand. And now Sleepy Lost hits my Weevil. So Weevil is in the Lost Zone. That's basically akin to her taking 1 prize. And so now it's 0 to 1. I haven't been able to kill anything yet. And Mr. Mime stays asleep again. So I'm not going to be able to attack it this turn. Gonna think about what I want to do here, and I just end up passing. Luckily, once again, Mr. Mime stays asleep on her turn, so she once more will not be able to get that Gengar active without a switch, and that's going to be really great for me, just because it might give me a chance to get rid of this Cresselia in my hand. So I draw another Sneasel. I'm going to think about what I want to do here, and what I'm going to decide to do is go ahead and Junk Arm, get rid of these rare candies since I'm not going to need another Tyranitar. Lost World decks generally do not attack at all, so I don't have to worry about this T-Tar I have on my bench being knocked out. It's going to take her forever to deal 160 points of damage, so I'm not going to need another one. That leaves me free to communicate the Weevil back into my deck, grab the other half of my Legend, which luckily wasn't prized. Now I'm going to go ahead and put that down on my bench. And my hand is empty, so Gengar cannot use Hurl into Darkness. His only option is to try to take things out with Curse Drop, and that's going to be a much slower process. So I also managed to KO the Mime, draw prize. Thankfully, it is not a Pokemon, and so now I'm in a pretty good spot here. She's gonna have to resort to Curse Dropping if she wants to do any damage, and I don't have anything for her to hurl into Darkness. She only has one Pokemon in the Lost Zone, so we're basically tied right now, 1-1. And I feel like if I can just get some energies going, I should be able to take advantage of this match real quick. Unfortunately, she's gonna go ahead and use Spiritomb here. That forces me to shuffle into my deck. Luckily, I only draw one Pokemon. She's going to go ahead and scout that out using her Mr. Mime. It lets her look at my hand. I see that she's got another Mime Jr., so there's potential that she could play that if she felt like it. And now she knows that if she goes for Hurl into Darkness, she's going to be able to put that Tyranitar into the Lost Zone, and that will bring the total of Lost Zone Pokemon up to 2. But before she does that, she's going to play a Twins, and if you're playing a Lost World deck, I would absolutely recommend playing 4 Twins. You generally will not ever take a prize, or will take very few prizes, much less than your opponent. So having 4 Twins is basically just free cards in your deck. Lets you get whatever you need whenever you need it. So she's going to go ahead, grab a Slowking. That means that she's going to be able to control what I draw. Slowking's Pokepower lets you rearrange the top 3 cards of either deck each turn, so she has complete control over what I'm drawing now, and with Mr. Mime as well, she can completely keep track of what I need and make sure that I don't get it. So she hurls into Darkness. I've got 2 Pokemon in the Lost Zone now. I'm going to go ahead and P-Calm, try to get some energy. I desperately need it, and now I get exactly what I need. I also get a Basic, which is great. It means I don't have to keep it into my hand. I can put it on the bench, put that Darkness energy onto Tyranitar, and finally start to get something going here. Now, Lost Zone decks do rely a lot on benched supporters, so Darkness Howl is really going to be a great asset. It's going to hopefully overload her with damage on the bench and start taking out some of those supporting Pokemon that she needs. So, going to go ahead, go for Darkness Howl here. Hit everything for 20, and luckily for me this time I don't have any Larvitar on my bench, so I remain completely unscathed and deal 100 damage total to her. So starting to get things going my way here. We're going to have to see how she's able to respond. So next turn she's going to use Mr. Mime, check my hand again. I see that she has a Seeker, so if she doesn't want to use the Twins this turn, it's an option for her to play Seeker, pick up that Spiritomb, and then force me to shuffle my hand again, hopefully being able to get me to draw some more Pokemon. That's what she's going to decide to do. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up one of my Sneasel, since one of my Weevils is already in the Lost Zone. If Sneasel gets put in there as well, it won't affect me that much. But now she plays Spiritomb here, taking a bit of a risk, hoping that I draw into more Pokemon, and unfortunately that's what happens. I draw 2 Pokemon, and since there are 2 Psychic Energy on Gengar, that means both of them are going to be chucked into Darkness this turn when she attacks. So that's going to put her basically at 4 prizes. She only needs 2 more Pokemon into the Lost Zone to be able to win, and I draw another Pokemon, so I cannot absolutely cannot keep it in my hand. I have to put it down on the bench, and now I'm going to put the DCE onto Tyranitar. That's going to power up Power Claw. Since Gengar's weakness is dark, I'll be able to take Gengar out with one shot. I do not play either of my supporters. I don't want more Pokemon in my hand at this time, so it's better just to keep the empty hand and force her to try something else if she wants to get Pokemon into the Lost Zone. So take out the Gengar. That doesn't mean a whole lot though, since she still has that Twins. She can get another one next turn. So we see Mime come down onto the bench now, and the second Twins comes into play. Looks like she doesn't have any energy though, so she won't be able to Curse Drop, and unless she has a way to force Pokemon into my hand, she's not going to have a way to get anything into the Lost Zone this turn. So let's see what she can do here. She does get the Gengar up. Now, since she doesn't have any energy, she's going to retreat, go to Mime Jr., and hope to top deck a Pokemon. Unfortunately for her, it's a communication instead, so I'm safe for one more turn. I'm going to put this special Dark Energy onto Tyranitar. Oh, no, I guess I don't need it. Yeah, I really don't need it on Tyranitar. Put it onto Volbeat instead. And, oh, no, undo that. Alright, well, let's see what I'm going to do. Ah, right, I'm going to use my Energy Exchanger here. And that's basically like a PCOM, only for energies. So I'm going to use that, swap out my Darkness Energy, and grab the Psychic Energy, because I have a feeling that I might need to use Darkrai and Cresselia to move some damage around later. So I'm going to pull that out of my deck, go ahead and put it on Cress, and that way he'll be good to go for the rest of the match. If I can do it here. I guess I'm waiting for her to respond to that. Sorry, I missed this bit of downtime. Usually I try to cut that out. There we go. So now I'm going to put the Psychic Energy onto Darkrai Cresselia. That's all I need to use Moon's Invite. I never used the other attack. This card is only in here for Moon's Invite. You can see the game's lagging pretty badly as I'm trying to get that Psychic Energy on there. And even though Mime Jr. is asleep, that's not going to pose any kind of problem, since I got that catcher off of my prizes, able to drag up that Gengar, put it into the active spot. So here I play Sharon, which was actually not the best move. I should have just kept it in my hand. There was no reason to draw cards right here, and I would have been better off just going for the attack. Luckily I don't draw into any Pokemon I can't play, and I'm able to take out Gengar with a super effective Power Claw. So 2 Gengars down. She's probably only got one more, if any. And now I just have to hope that Mime Jr. doesn't put 2 of my Pokemon into the Lost Zone in the next 3 turns, and I should be good to go. So she's going to Juniper here, refresh her hand, and let's see if she's got any new options. I'm just going to look through it. I'm not sure if she uses Mime to check out my hand. I don't have any Pokemon in there, so I feel like I'm completely safe this turn. The only problem would be if Mr. Mime manages to pull Pokemon off the top of my deck. So we'll see. She's going to use Max Potion on something, on Slowking, just to get rid of that 20 damage, which I don't know if that was a great play or not. It was not in danger of being KO'd, and that could have potentially helped her Gengar survive for one more turn, since if I didn't have a special Dark Energy, Power Claw wouldn't quite be able to knock it out. But anyhow, that's what she decided to do, and then unfortunately she gets a Pokemon with Sleepy Lost. So she draws Sneasel. That means there are now 5 Pokemon in the Lost Zone. So if she gets just one more, it's going to be game over. So I'm going to go ahead, use my Pokegear 3.0, see what kind of supporters I've got here at the top of my deck. I've got a Twins and a Sharon. Grab a Sharon. Again, I'm probably going to play this, which is actually a misplay. When you're playing against a Lost World deck, you really don't want to play supporters unless you absolutely need to, because like I said at the beginning, you want to limit the amount of Pokemon you have in your hand. Luckily for me, it works out, and I actually draw a Mandibuzz, which I'm able to evolve right away. If I had gotten a Tyranitar there, I would have been stuck with it. So I guess I felt safe doing it since she didn't have a Gengar out. And now, since I attached that Darkness Energy to Tyranitar, it's going to hit for 30 damage, which means Mime Jr. is going to be knocked out, and everything else is going to take 20. So I'm down to 2 prizes. She's down to basically 1. So it's really going to come down to this turn and what can she do with this turn. If she can get a Pokemon into my Lost Zone somehow, she's going to be able to activate Lost World next turn and take the win. So I see the third twins come into play here, and depending on what she has in her hand, she might be looking for another Gengar here, or maybe another Mime Jr., although that's a much riskier play. So she puts down a Ghastly. I take that to mean that she's going to be able to get into a Gengar next turn thanks to the twins. She's probably got the Rare Candy and the Gengar ready to go. And so I could knock out the Spiritomb here, but Spiritomb is not a threat at all. It can't attack, can't really do anything. So I'm going to look at her field, think about what I want to do, and what I decide is that Ghastly is really the biggest threat right now. I absolutely need to take that out this turn, and that's why I have this tech of Darkrai Cresselia Legend. You're going to get to see why it's such a great tech card in this deck right here. I'm going to go ahead, pay the 3 retreat cost to pull Tyranitar back onto the bench. I know it's expensive, but I've got plenty of energy in my hand. I'll be able to attack with him again later if I need to. And what I need to do this turn is eliminate that Ghastly before it gets to become a Gengar, especially since I have a Tyranitar in my hand and there's no way to get it onto the field. So I pull up Darkrai Crest, and now I'm going to use Moon's Invite to move the damage around her side of the field however I choose to. So that is going to let me put 50 damage onto Ghastly and knock it out before it gets to become a Gengar. And that was a really clutch play here. Probably won me the game, since if Gengar had come down next turn, I wouldn't have been able to do anything to stop it. So now you can see it's just like Reuniclus's Poke Power, except reversed. You get to move the damage on your opponent's side of the field. So I'm going to pull all of that damage that I put on there with Tyranitar, put it onto the Ghastly, and that's going to be just enough to take the Ghastly out. I was hoping that maybe I'd have enough to take out 2 things, but actually that Max Potion saved her. I don't have enough damage to get 2 KOs in 1 turn, so I'm just going to have to settle for eliminating the Ghastly, taking out all of the ways that she has to get anything into the Lost Zone. Really, the only chance she has here is to pull another Mime Jr., Sleepy Lost on her next turn, get a Pokemon, and then stay asleep so that I can't take her out the following turn. If she does that, she is still going to be able to win, but really it's starting to look like I should be able to squeak out a victory here thanks to the Darkrai Cresselia. Takes out the Ghastly. So the entire match is going to come down to this next turn. What's going to happen? Is she going to get a Mime Jr. and is she going to be able to get a Pokemon into the Lost Zone? If she does and Mime Jr. stays asleep, it means that I lose unless I manage to get a hold of a Collector. So we're going to see. She's going to look through her cards, see what her options are, look at my hand. So I'm going to get a look at her hand, and look, there's that Gengar. She was planning to go for the Gengar next turn, but I was able to prevent that. And now really her only option here is to Juniper and draw into another Mime. So I think that's what she's going to do here any second now. Again, we're just going to have to sit and wait for her to decide what she wants to do. Yep, there's Juniper. She's got to ditch all that stuff in her hand. Gengar is not going to do her any good at this point since I only need to take 1 more prize. And she draws a new hand. Let's see if she got a Mr. Mime. Nope. So she's just going to concede. That's going to be the game. And even though it looks like it was a 6-0 game, this was actually a 6-5 game. If I hadn't gotten rid of that Ghastly, it would have been game over the next turn. So really close match. Hope you guys enjoyed it. That's going to do it for the T-Tar deck. I've got another new deck to show you. One of my personal favorite decks coming up next week. So stay tuned for that. I've also got another episode of Let's Play probably coming shortly, and of course a Wi-Fi battle coming this weekend. So stay tuned, guys. More coming your way shortly. Thanks.